Hello and welcome to a time special presentation for Thirukkural with the Times, where we explore real-world lessons from the classic text Thirukkural with motivational speaker, author and diversity champion Bharathi Baskar as she explores the masterpiece. Her tries to find if there is a correlation between a Kural and next president of World Bank, Ajay Banga's golden rules of success.
Ajay Banga is on his way to becoming the next president of the World Bank. Banga is distinguished in many ways. Fortune magazine names him as one of the most influential business leaders. While he was the CEO, he enhanced the market cap of MasterCard from USD 30 billion to USD 240 billion. The world now looks up to him for championing the climate issue along with the recessionary trends in the global economy. I have had the rare privilege of being in the same organization and sharing the same floor where his cabin was located while he worked for Citibank India. He was based out of our Chennai office for a while before he was transferred to the headquarters in the US. The rest, as they say, is history. A farewell dinner was arranged for Banga before he moved to New York. Instead of the usual farewell speeches, he preferred a Q&A session. I was a junior member of the organization but mustered the courage to ask him a question. Ajay, can you share your 3 golden rules for success? Ajay Banga mentioned 3 rules, but all that I can recall now is only rule number 1, and it was upfront bad news to your boss. It has been 2 decades now, but I followed the rule religiously. Bosses are never too happy to listen to bad news. Some bosses shoot the messengers, but it is still important to be courageous, honest, and upfront bad news at all times. I have made my own sub-clauses for the rule that I learned from Ajay Banga. Rule number 1 or 1A. Let the boss hear the bad news from you and not from others, so be quick to upfront. Rule number 1B. Be prepared with all kinds of questions, including what the hell were you guys doing all through? As much as the answers are authentic and we have enough data, the chances of surviving the trauma could get better. Rule number 1C. Don't be apologetic and at the same time, don't look nonchalant. Have a moderate expression and just be factual. And last, rule number 1D. Give the solution and keep updating the boss very frequently. Despite following all the rules, sharing bad news may still be extremely difficult. Out of fear, some subordinates suppress bad news from their bosses. The best example in history is an incident that happened during the Second World War, named by historians as the Great Tank Battle of the Kursk. Russian commander of the 5th Guards Tank Army, Lieutenant General Pavel, had to explain the heavy loss of tanks under his command to his boss. Russia had lost close to 300 tanks, mostly by a misjudgment where the tanks were destroyed by the wedge they themselves created in the path as a trap to catch the tanks of the German army. Their own tanks succumbed to the wedge and they got ambushed. Pavel did not have enough courage to upfront this bad news to his army general. He reported to his boss that the Russians lost 300 tanks, but only after making sure that the Germans lost 400 tanks. The Russian Supremo was happy. What Pavel did not tell his boss was that the reportedly lost 400 German tanks were not destroyed by Russia, but were diverted by Hitler himself to Italy from Russia. He got away with the suppression of the facts as history took a turn against Germany's advances in the war and Russian side ultimately won. Not everyone is lucky like General Pavel, you see. In those days of autocracy, sharing bad news must have been absolutely suicidal. I found it surprising that Thiruvalluvar has given some tips on sharing unpleasant things with people in absolute power. Wait for the right occasion and wait for the right state of mind, and then put the bad news in a manner that will not kindle his hatred but will give him assurance. Kuripparindhu, Kaalam Karudhi, Veruppila, Vendubava, Vetpach, Cholal. This is the tips that Thiruvalluvar is giving us to upfront bad news to our bosses.